So, welcome to another week in the life of a radio programming consultant. Hi, I'm Gary Berkowitz. I program AC and classic hits radio stations, and I know I was doing these videos on a pretty regular basis, and you haven't seen them for a while. Well, you know, it's summertime, and I think everybody goofs off a little bit. I wasn't really goofing off. Actually, I've had a couple of very, very busy weeks, which is really the main reason I haven't done these videos. Brought on a few new stations, and we've been working on, all of the stations really on a pretty ongoing basis. But I had a conversation last week with somebody about Pro FM, and I wanted to share the story with you. And the kind of the overall theme of the story is that when you're a young program director, you've got a lot to learn. And here's the story. So in the very, very beginning, I became PD at Pro FM while it was still a beautiful music station, and we were going to be changing format to Top 40 back in 1974. And at the time, so we put the station on the air, and Pro FM had a lot of different names over the years. It started off as WPRO FM, and then it became FM 92. And then because I had an obsession with not giving any ratings credit to our AM station, WPRO. So I was trying all these different names to differentiate the station. It was WPRO FM, like I said, FM 92. We had that moment in time, which is kind of a famous moment in time, where we would call the station FM, WPRO FM, again, to differentiate, how people, referred to us. Now, I wanted to totally change the call letters on that radio station, because at the time, the hottest thing in Top 40 was Q. Everybody was becoming Q. It was KCBQ. It was WMYQ down in Miami. Q was the rage everywhere, and I'm going, wow, we could be, Q92. We could be WPRQ, Q92. So I put all of my ideas together, and I remember at the time we were owned by Capital Cities, and it was prior to the ABC merger, and we had a meeting or something in New York City, and we were having dinner one night up at the Rainbow Room in the NBC in Rockefeller at 30 Rock, and I'm sitting next to Joe Doherty, who was the senior VP of radio, and a few of the other, big execs. And I pitched him on the idea of changing the call letters to WPRQ and calling it Q92. And of course, these guys listened to everything. And to make a long story short, the answer was no way. Those call letters that you have now, WPRO FM, are too good to give up. So I was a little bit bruised. I was a young program director, and I kind of went back to Providence with my tail tucked between my legs, because I was denied. They didn't even want to hear the idea of changing call letters on that radio station. So we continued with FM, PRO FM, and we were calling it every which way, and everybody except for me wanted to call it Pro FM. And the reason for that was I was insistent that I not lose any ratings credit to WPRO AM, which was, upstairs. And it was, this guerrilla AM Top 40 radio station, until one day, and I don't know what caused it, but I woke up and I said, you know what? 92 Pro FM will sound good. It'll sound good in jingles. It'll sound great coming out of the jocks. Gary, don't fight it anymore. Everybody wants to call it Pro FM. What are you fighting? Well, next thing you know, we decide to call it 92 Pro FM. I called John Wolford at Jam Productions, order the jingles. The jingles were unbelievable. It was 92 Pro FM. It was just fabulous. And I guess the moral here on the story is that I was a young program director, and I had to, maybe take some hard knocks on that one because keeping the call letters, WPRO FM, calling it Pro FM was, oh my God, such the right thing to do. And here we are, 50 some odd years later, and Pro FM is still Pro FM. So that's my story for today. If you've heard the story, sorry you had to listen to it again, but if you've made it this far, I do thank you for watching. I call this a life in the week of a program consultant. I'm going to try to do these on a more regular basis and hopefully have some other good stories to share with you. I'm programming consultant Gary Berkowitz, and again, thank you for watching.